What's up, witches? I'm Luna. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. I want to start by acknowledging you. I know you're tired. I know you're stressed as all get out. And I invite you for this short time to let go of your cares, to unclench your jaw, to roll your shoulders back and drop them down. Take a nice deep breath, relax as much as you're able, and join me as we take a look at a really fucking weird deck. Let's look at this. This is a deck that has been sitting on my waiting for unboxing shelf for way too long. My daughter got me this probably more than a year ago. And it's called the Wizard's Tarot. And it's by Wizard of Barge. If you want to know anything about Wizard of Barge, go to wizardofbarge.com and you will know very little more than you know now. Nice box. It says, in a world of endless possibilities, and look at, we've got shiny letters. In a world of endless possibilities, how will you decide your fate? You won't. But if you dare ask, you will forever be burdened by the truth of your destiny. Are you brave enough to face your future? Use at your own risk, Wizard of Barge. Now, what's really fun about this deck, so we do have some gold embossing, along with these really wacky images. No book. This deck has no book. And I did something that I usually don't do before I unbox a deck, and that is I went to wizardofbarge.com. I just, Googled the Wizard's Tarot, Wizard of Barge, and found the website. This artist has some other things for sale, prints and posters and things like that, along with this deck that I guess was on a Kickstarter edition. My daughter found it at, I think, at Spencer's, Spencer Gifts. The original weird store from when I was a kid. So here's some more images that are on the box. We have a knife and blood. Knife and blood. Okay, so, and looky. Welcome. This deck can be read using beasts as wands, curses as cups, cults as pentacles, and swords as swords. Precede with caution. For this deck, precede, not proceed. For this deck has been imbued with the eternal cosmic knowledge of the wizard. Happy reading. Dakota Gates. Oh, Dakota Gates or Cates? I can't tell. I think it's Cates. Yeah, Dakota Cates, a.k.a. Wizard of Barge 2019. So this is an indie deck, obviously. There's no publisher on there anywhere. It does say made in China. Let's set that aside and come in close. Okay, so we have this eyeball, and they are non-directional, so you can read reverses and it won't mess things up from the back side. Fairly chunky deck, but nice cardstock. It feels like they're going to shuffle okay. And here we go with the Fool. So we have traditional imagery. We've got being, this alien one-eyed being that is about to step off this cliff, and there's a little critter here next to the heel. There's something flying next to him too. And man, he's ready to step off into some big, deep, fiery things. So the fact that this deck doesn't have a book might be okay if you're well-versed in standard imagery. Let's keep going and find out how that plays out. Here's the Magician. So we have, what did they say the suits were again? Beasts. I guess those are beasts. Curses. Would that be a curse? Cults. And swords. So I don't see a sword here, so obviously the Magician doesn't show the four elements, but we've got a black moon and a new moon, I guess, or full moon, new moon, whatever. All right. Here's the High Priestess. Oh my goodness. The High Priestess of the Blue Nipples and the Strange Beast. This reminds me of Our Real Monsters. Interesting. I mean, the imagery is as out there as it gets. Here's the Empress. She of the purple nipples. Purple nurples. And here's the Emperor. And I mean, I have to look up at my screen to see if I can sort of make heads or tails of this image. This is the face, apparently, holding heads. It would be hard to tell, you know, you might be tempted if this didn't have a name to think that that's the Hierophant, but it's not. Here's the Hierophant, looking an awful lot like the devil. Interesting choice there. The Lovers. I love the fishnets. The Chariot. So now I want to Google Dakota Cates and learn even more about this artist, because I never saw what was in the inside of that box before. The Chariot. Strength. Oh dear. The Hermit. Oh, I'm so sad. See, that really deviates from the Hermit, because we don't usually see. So this Hermit really talks to me about the isolation part. I also know that I'm going to edge these in black. Why would you not? Here's the Wheel of Fortune. Justice. So obviously the artwork is absolutely cohesive from image to image. Here's the Hanged Man. Death. Happy death. Temperance. Oh. She speweth forth the green pea soup. Then we have the actual devil. Wow, such an imagination. So I imagine this person has been making drawings like this since they were a very small child, being weird, weird, weird. The Star. We've got a castle here. So this is going to be very interesting in a test drive, because I'm definitely going to be taking prompts from the images in addition to what I know of cards. What they're going to prompt me to say, I have no idea. Here's the sun is a great big eyeball, and somebody's going after it. Then we have Judgment. Hey, wait. Oh, okay. That image went by and I hardly even see. We're all stressed, you guys. Here's Judgment. And the World. Very similar between these two. All right, now we have the Swords. Thank you for starting off with the one that's recognizable. Here's the Ace. The 2. So interesting that we don't have a blindfold. Instead, we have swords piercing through the eye sockets. The 3. Oh. The 4. The 5. Now we're getting grim. The 6 of Swords. So yeah, you know, we don't have standard imagery here. 6 of Swords usually shows navigating, you know, going through treacherous waters or journeying away from. But nothing doing here. We've just got this female, 4-titted female creature, and she's got a stinger too. Here's the 7. The 8, no blindfold or pierced eyes here. The 9 and the 10. So again, you're going to have your own internalized meanings for these. And you know, so here's an image that is very much not like the standard 10 of Swords, which shows destruction and downfall and, you know, swords piercing someone that's obviously dead. Where would you go with this? Want some candy, little child? Or I don't know. I don't know where you would go with that. Something revealed? Here's the page. Now see, that looks more like the Ten of Swords. Wow. The Knight. Imagination for days. The Queen. And the King. Here's the Ace of Cults. Okay, so the cults are pentacles. And this person has just stabbed himself through the sword. So how, cults, how would you know that's pentacles? You wouldn't. Here's the 2, which usually shows juggling. So again, you've got to just internalize what these suits are, because you're not going to get clues going, oh yeah, I recognize that as. I mean, this could be, we have 3 people that are maybe working together. That might give you a little bit of a hint. The 4 of Cults. Okay. The 5. Do you get the idea of out in the cold? No, you don't. The 6. So frickin' wacky. I'm scared. I'm scared of test driving this thing. Here's the 7 of Pentacles. Cults. 8. 9. I mean, we have a pentacle there. And 10. Is this the prosperous family? I don't know. Here's the page. Studying. Okay, there's something recognizable. The Knight that doesn't go anywhere. The Queen. And the King. Now we have the curses, which are cups. So you have a little bit of an illusion, that, hand like that. But that looks more like the pentacle, the Ace of Pentacles. Okay, quit trying to do that, Luna. Here's 2 of curses. The 3. 4. If you look, it probably is more recognizable to you. When I'm looking up close, there's so much little detail and stuff that at first it's like I didn't see a face there. The 5. It's a toilet demon. Here's the 6. The 7, they're playing cards. Pick a card, any card. The 8. The 9. Here's the wish card. And the 10. The happy family card? I think not. It just feels like more of a collection of drawings here. Here's the Page of Cups. Curses. The Knight of Curses. The Queen of Curses. Whew. What is going on there? And the King. Sorry, King of Curses. And then the last we have are the beasts. So these are wands. And the one thing I do get there is that that looks fiery. So beasts are wands. Never mind. Stop trying to think. There's the first instruction in working with this deck. Stop thinking. Here's the 2 of beasts. The 3. The 4. 5. The 6. I mean, to the point where I'm having to think real hard to what the standard is. Here's the 7. You get a little vibe. Somebody's this tiny, tiny person on top of a mountaintop, standing against this thing. Here's the 8. the 9, and the 10 is a graveyard. And we have the page, the knight, the queen, and the king. Wow. So as you can see, this is going to be a fairly short video because we have no book to look at. It's just all us. Let me light my charcoal, because regardless of, you know, how wacky and unconventional something is, when we're going to give it a test drive, we have to treat it just the same as any other. And as I always say, I have absolutely undying respect for anybody that can produce a tarot deck out of their own mind and their own imagination, which clearly this person is not lacking in. All right, let's give it a little smoke cleanse. With some sage by Air and Fire. Oops, there's a big nick in that one. So yeah, we are going to be edging this one like right after I'm done shooting this video. By Air and Fire, may you be purified, charged. And by Water and Earth, may you be blessed and made whole. And by the Bell, may all negativity, all previous energies that this deck has contacted be cleared, and the spirit awaken within. I welcome my guides and guardians, allies and ancestors, and thank you for being here for this wacky thing. I'm really relying on you guys to put some messages in my head, okay? I offer you fresh water. I offer you the fire of Azrael to call the spirit of divination into this deck. And now, let's see how she shuffles. Trying not to put my candle out. Oh, yeah. That's a joy. Let's do it again. Oops. Come on now. Interesting. I mean, it is so bendy. Let me give it a cut. And then I'm going to shuffle that way again. And then we'll just continue to cut. So, as I'm shuffling, of course, the question we always ask in unboxings is, how can we, stressed and tired and overwhelmed as we are, number one, keep away from despair. Don't know if this is the deck to ask that question to. How do we not despair? By laughing in its face. And how do we move from a sense of merely surviving into reclaiming our sense of thriving? How do we do this? Where we are right now, from where we are, whatever circumstances we find ourselves in, how do we rise up and do our best? Okay, this will be the last. But ooh, that was fun. All right, now, how do we? I'm going to do like 3 cards. They're telling me 5. Okay, I'm going to do a line of 5 and just see how it works out. One more. Oh, okay. And so conveniently, the deck itself tosses out 4 for me. So we have 3 majors and 10 of curses, which is cups. Okay. And I do want one more, and then they want me to look at the one on the bottom. Maybe that's our one more. 6 of beasts. The next one up the top is the devil. So let's just see what we get from here. That gives us 6 cards. Take them in the order I picked them. All right. So we have 10 of curses in the middle. That's the 10 of cups. And so that kind of validates the question that we asked, because this is the card that shows the culmination of the cup suit, the ultimate happiness, the happy family card. And we have someone dancing. Look at the high heels. I love this kind of X-ray vision skeleton thing, wearing high heels and just dancing to this idol. So the Hierophant talks about routine, and it can talk about, Hierophant a lot of times has that sort of negative slant towards dogma, things just being unquestioned and dull and boring and repetitive and stuckness and ruts and all that kind of stuff. But that can also be the reversed Hierophant, because Hierophant can talk about habits, routine, as I said. It can talk about sort of institutions and structures, hierarchies. But here I'm going to go with that idea of habits and routines. So what this is telling us is we need to address our habits. And for instance, look at how you're starting your day. And the definition of a habit is something that is no longer conscious. It's a behavior that you engage in without thinking about it. So we need to address the things that we just don't think about. And for me, in the last week, I have begun changing habits, because I've gotten into the habit of too much news. You get sucked in by that vortex. And so rather than sitting in front of the computer and going directly to Facebook, I'm opening up iTunes. And as I sit with my light therapy light on, I have a stack of decks over here, and I've been working first thing in the morning with my decks. If I don't do that, I have my mala and I do some prayer work. So it's changing those habits so that you can start to create the habit of happiness. You can create the habit of starting with the well full. Fill the well first before you draw from it. Then we have Temperance over here. And what does that mean? Balance. Keeping things in balance. Address the habits, set up habits that generate happiness for you on the front end, rather than going to the things that you like in order to decompress, from a horrible, stressful day, which you need to do that as well. But maybe, just maybe, the stress will have less impact if you're starting with the well full, or as full as possible. So Temperance just says everything in balance, everything in balance. Now we have the World here, the Hierophant and 10 of curses. And the World card here is talking about completion, achievement, all access pass, empowerment. So when we create habits of happiness, it empowers us, and it gives us access to more energy, to more capability to create, to be effective in our lives. Then we have the 6 of Beasts here, and the beasts were wands. 6 of Beasts, 6 of Wands is the Victory card. So we see this creature standing there, and they're holding a wand or a trident, a pitchfork, if you will. And we've got 2 pillars, kind of like the High Priestess. And she's got a blindfold on. That's very interesting. So if I just go with imagery, it's kind of like she's standing there waiting for all comers, waiting for what's going to come at her. I'm thinking of Buffy, the Vampire Slayer. One of the episodes where the council, the Watchers Council, came to test her, and they had her, put a blindfold on, and she had to fight with this blindfold on, and that's what it reminds me of. But they blindfolded her because she is so powerful and capable that they felt the need to handicap her. And I mean, if you are a Buffy fan at all, you know that they did it because the Watchers Council is a bunch of dicks. So So I'm going to go with the Six of Beasts here, reminding you of your own power, that you are so very powerful that sometimes you have to dim your light a little bit, or to be on an even playing field with others, you've got to handicap yourself in some way. Um, the world. But ultimately, I'm going to go with the standard Waite Smith, Stuart Kaplan, and say victory. The world and the victory card. If we generate new habits of happiness to bring our lives into balance, then we are victorious and we have access to whatever we need to access. But then we've got the devil at the bottom. Holy shit, what's this? So the devil talks about habits too. Things that have more control of us than we have of them. And usually things have more control of us because they are not conscious, because it's gone unconscious. The subconscious mind is much more powerful than the conscious mind. The reason we struggle so hard to change habits is because we may not be used to accessing the subconscious. And we gain access to the subconscious through images, through poetry, through visuals, things that not through, it's probably easier to say how we do not access the subconscious. We do not access it through logical process and through logical thought. That's left brain. The access to subconscious is through the right brain. So what is the devil saying here? Give me a minute. This is a challenge. The world and the Six of Beasts. Devil can represent toxicity. So I guess we really need to just acknowledge where our habits might be considered toxic. I'm going to take two more. Eight of Swords. Okay, Eight of Swords says that wherever we're feeling trapped, like, with the devil, that we can remind ourselves that it is our habits of mind and our habitual thought processes, our habitual assumptions about life. For instance, I don't deserve good things that other people have. That can be a toxic assumption that is programmed in there deep and has its roots in the subconscious. So if we understand that our conscious habits of mind can be have their roots in the subconscious, we can look at what am I assuming and start questioning all of our assumptions about however we react. Whenever we're having a reaction to something and we snap to judgment about why this is happening, it's an opportunity to examine that assumption and that snap judgment and say, how is this keeping me trapped? How is this toxic to me? And then we can change it. And then we have two of cults here. So we had curses and cults and beasts and swords. We have all the suits. Isn't that nice? The one thing we don't have, thank you, is court cards. Glad I don't have to deal with that. Okay, so the cults, again, are pentacles. So Two of Pentacles here can talk about practical decision making. All right, so that tells me that once we begin to recognize what is toxic, and our aim here is to gain access and to achieve victory over these habits, these unconscious patterns of mind. And so when we start with that intention to identify what's toxic, to understand that we keep ourselves entrapped by these very thought processes, and then we understand that this is down to a practical choice. We can change those thought patterns, but the first thing is we got to be aware of them. Got to bring them into consciousness so that they're not just subconscious programs. They're not just automatic reactions. And as we start to recognize and then question them, a lot of this might happen after the fact. You go through something, it was like an uncomfortable encounter or whatever, maybe after the fact when you're journaling at night, you can look at it and go, okay, what was the unconscious assumption that was underlying all of this? And what if I assume that that's really not true and know that I can change that? Then we start getting really practical about things and say, well, then I can make a choice between this and that. So then here's the choice that was made habitually. And when I understand what another healthier option might be, then I can go, okay, next time, and then visualize it. Because what we need to do then is start to implant these new ways of being, these new habits in the subconscious. So you visualize. And you might replay the scenario and how someone who thinks the way you want to think would have reacted in the situation and responded. And so we can start working with things as they actually are. Like I said, after the fact might be the easiest way to begin with. And then little by little, the more you do it, you may find that in the moment, I'm able to step back and go, okay, wait. I've done this before. I recognize this pattern. Stop, take a breath, and access the alternative ways that you have been actively working with and implanting. Damn. Okay. Okay. So, what have we learned today? I have learned that it doesn't frickin' matter how out there a particular tool might be if you approach something with the intention to get a message, something that's understandable. And if you also have a foundation, if you're grounded in the traditional meanings. If you've done some study, if you have internalized. And this is where I am a big fan of, whatever your initial deck is. I really think every tarot reader needs to have at least the big two, if not the big three. And that would be a Waite-Smith deck, whatever version it is, with, as close to the traditional imagery as possible. A Thoth deck, so you can have a little bit different perspective, and maybe a Marseille deck, because the Marseille decks can actually start you reading from things that aren't traditional, because they're pip decks, so you don't have the images, you just have to internalize. Whatever you choose, whichever lineage you start from, I really encourage you to spend time in the beginning internalizing. And I recommend that rather than just reading the book and trying to memorize, that you internalize through doing readings and, asking specific questions and looking things up. Because when you have a spread with categories and you read the meaning of a card and it rings your bell and you go, oh my God, this makes so much sense for me personally, you are going to more easily internalize that message and that meaning. So, thank you so much for hanging out with me. Are you glad you hit that button? If you are, please hit the like button as well and subscribe if you haven't already. There are links down below, and thank you so much to all my patrons who support this channel in all the ways that they do. I have patrons that aren't on Patreon that support me in amazing ways. I thank you all. There's an Amazon wish list below, and if you pick a deck off that list and buy it for me, I will read for you on my unboxing. You can even send me a specific question and I will read on that question for you on the video. Up to you whether you give me your name or not. You can give me your name and say, don't use my name in the video, whatever, sky's the limit. All right, you guys, thank you again for hanging out with me. I already feel better. I feel a little less stressed. I'm very grateful for the message that came from this deck and from my guides. Thank you, everybody. I will see you next time on an unboxing or a live stream or some other random shit. Until then, this is Luna. Blessed be.